everyone, it's Meg, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys 21 books I want to read in 2021. I did this video last year for 2020 and I must admit I haven't gone back and looked at that video yet, but I don't think I did very well with my list of reading what I had on that list. Wow, words. But I'd like to think that I'm going to read the majority of the books on this list I'm going to share with you today, because I'm going to be talking about most of the books that I want to read this year are actually on my physical TBR already, because if you can see behind me, this is my TBR cart. This is the second shelf that I have. And so, you know, there's a lot of books, and Christmas has obviously just happened, so I got a couple of books there. But obviously this is just a really fun list to share with you all. It's kind of about whether it's some books that I wanted to read last year I didn't get to, or some books that are new to me, or some rereads, and just a whole host of books. So like I said, most of the books I am going to be talking about are on my physical TBR, because obviously I want to try and whittle it down quite a bit. And I do have a video talking about all the books on my physical TBR, which I will leave in the description if you want to go and check it out. It has changed a bit since obviously I have read quite a few of the books on that list since then, but obviously I'm not going to talk about the books that are on that list too much. But again, go and watch that video if you want to kind of see all the books, because I'm not going to be talking about every single book on this TBR, but I'm going to talk about the ones I'm most excited to read. So without further ado, let's get into the video. First up, we have a reread, and that is the Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. This is a book that was on my end of year TBR and I didn't end up getting to, but it's definitely a book I want to reread, because I read it for the first time in January last year, and I was so excited for this book. I read it before like all the real proper hype came up around this book, and I did really enjoy it. However, I feel like I missed the mark with it. I just feel like I didn't appreciate it as much. I don't know why. It ended up putting me in a reading slump, and that was nothing to do with the book personally, because I did really enjoy it. But I feel like it's a book that I need to reread so I can fully appreciate it, because obviously it's a wonderful book. I really appreciate and respect Dean Atter as a person and as a writer, so it's definitely a book that I want to reread, and I feel like I'm going to get much more out of it the second time round. Next we have Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, and this is the last Jane Austen full-length novel that I have to read. I read Emma last year, and like I said, this is the last one that I have. I feel like this is like one of the least popular Jane Austen books. I haven't heard loads and loads about it. Obviously it is still popular because it's Jane Austen, but I feel like in terms of people ranking their favourite Jane Austen novels, it doesn't always tend to be their favourite. I don't know a lot about it. I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook whilst I read along with it, because even though I love Jane Austen, I do kind of struggle with the language sometimes. So I think I'll listen to the audiobook whilst reading along. And yeah, I'm interested to see what I think of it, to be honest with you, because last time I read a book by Jane Austen where I didn't really know the story, I didn't end up enjoying it very much, which was a shame. But hopefully I will kind of enjoy this a bit more second time around, like reading an unfamiliar story by Jane Austen. So hopefully I will get to this at some point and see what I think. Next we have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and this is the gorgeous film edition that my wonderful friend Em got me for Christmas. So I've been dying to get a copy of this ever since I watched the film at the beginning of last year. I know it came out in 2019, but I watched it at the beginning of 2020, and yeah, it just made me fall in love. So I really want to read the book now, which I never thought would happen, because I've had no interest since the film came out. But I don't know, everything about that film was wonderful, and I loved how it was filmed. I love the cast, and this book is gorgeous. It has like photo stills from the film, and obviously it looks like Jo's book that she gets made by the end of the film. So yeah, this is one that I think I might read after my current read. Very excited to dive into this one, and it'd be interesting to see like kind of my thoughts on it compared to the film. Next we have Run Rebel by Manjeet Mann, and ever since I heard about this novel coming out last year, I have been dying to read it, and I think it's definitely going to be one of the first books that I purchase in 2020, because I want to do a video talking about my recommendations for novels in verse, as this is a novel in verse. It's a debut novel, I believe, I don't know a lot about it. However, Penguin did like a little like live interview with Manjeet about this book and also about her second book that she is currently writing, and it just made me even more excited about it. And you should all know I love a good novel in verse, so I'm just so excited to get to this. It's definitely going to be one of the first books that I purchased this year. Next up we have Brave New Girl by Chloe Brotheridge, and I think this was on my top books I want to read for last year, but I didn't end up getting around to it. However, I definitely want to try and get to this book because it is kind of linked to one of my like personal goals that I have this year of not only reading more non-fiction but reading books that help me grow, whether it's expanding my knowledge, kind of improving on my inner self. As I read The Anxiety Solution by Chloe a couple of years ago now, and I did end up really enjoying it. I should probably go back and kind of have a little reread through it, but this is a book all about confidence, and confidence is something I feel like I've kind of dwindled in over lockdown over last year, because obviously we couldn't really go out much and interact with other people, so I feel like I've lost a lot of confidence. So I'm hoping this book is going to kind of help me regain that confidence. And Chloe's writing is very easy and straightforward to read, and she always has some really fun and useful exercises in her books, so I feel like this is going to be again one of the first books that I purchased this year, and I'm looking forward to getting to it. Next up we have an ARC, and that is Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney, and I got this in the Book Box Club December box, and always in the December boxes they include a main book and then they include an ARC for a new release in the new year, and this book comes out in May I believe, and from what I have read about this is like a YA kind of rom-com but also a coming of age story about our main character who loves to make lists, and she has a journal keeping all these lists in, lists of about everything you could possibly imagine, and basically somebody ends up stealing her diary and basically blackmails her into doing certain things on the list, otherwise they will basically expose her entire diary online to the world. And I feel like it's going to be amazing. I read like the first little page the author wrote before the novel starts, it sounds really interesting, and I really enjoyed the last ARC that I got from Book Box Club, which was Diary of a Confused Feminist by Kit Weston, so I'm very much looking forward to getting to this. It's a contemporary, coming of age story, sort of self-discovery, rom-com, it's right up my street, so hopefully I will enjoy it. Next up we have The Ringmasters Daughter by Carly Shabowski, and this is actually the book I'm currently reading. I did start this at the end of 2020, so I'm still counting it though, because obviously I was only like literally 50 pages into it by the time the new year came around, and I'm only on just over 100 pages, but I'm really enjoying this book so far. Again, this is a book I got sent by Anne for Christmas and she really enjoyed it. I think she got an ARC of it last year. This book is set in France during World War II, and it follows our main character who runs away from Paris where he lives to try and find safety, and he ends up working with a circus and training their horses, and that's kind of only where I'm up to at the moment, and it's a love story as well, and I'm just really enjoying it so far. It's very idyllic. I know it's probably going to take a rather shocking turn at some point because it's a World War II book, but I'm honestly really enjoying it so far. I love the characters, I love the writing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Next up we have The Invisible Life of Addy LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and again this is another book I started last year but I ended up putting it down because I was kind of in a reading slump when I first picked this book up and I just wasn't in the mood for it and I found it a little bit slow, so I put it down, but I'm determined to finish it by the end of this year because I've heard nothing but good things about it. Even my mum's read it and really enjoyed it, and it seems like a book that is kind of out of my comfort zone but up my street at the same time. I adored the writing. The writing is absolutely stunning of what I have read so far, and I don't know, I'm just really intrigued. I've never read a V.E. Schwab book before, so this is my first one, and hopefully when I do pick it back up I really hope I will enjoy it because I'll be so disappointed if I don't, but I guess we shall see. Next we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and this is a book that again I got gifted for Christmas. Like I said, I did get a couple of books for Christmas by my lovely friend Kira, and this is a book I have been intrigued about for a while and I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on, as I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern back in 2019 and I did enjoy it. I found it a little bit long for my personal taste and I wasn't a massive fan of the ending, But overall I did really enjoy it. I love the writing, I love the characters and how intricate the story is. And this is again a book that's very mysterious. Morgan's books always seem to be very mysterious. You don't know what you're getting into until you actually read the book. And like I said, I've heard mixed things on this. Some people love it, some people do not like it. I'm hoping I'm going to be somebody who does like it, as I did enjoy her books before. It's also quite a long book. I don't even know how many pages it is. It's over it's like nearly 500 pages. So I am going to get to this at some point. I feel like it's a perfect like winter reread because it's very cosy and all that sort of thing. So again, another one that I would like to try my best to get to kind of like before spring maybe. But I guess we shall see. I really hope I enjoy it because I do really enjoy Morgan's writing. Next up we have the only fantasy on this list. I don't know whether you count Starless Sea as a fantasy or not, but this is like definitely a fantasy, so we're putting it on this list, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And if you are a regular watcher on this channel, you would know that I don't really read fantasy. I read one fantasy book last year, which was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and I liked that book. I don't know if I'll carry on with the series, but that cliffhanger kind of makes me want to. But I don't know. Like, I did enjoy it, but it wasn't like my favourite because obviously I'm not really a fantasy reader. And this is again a book that always seems so mysterious until you end up reading it, and like it's going to be probably my only fantasy read of the year at this rate. But I don't know, I'm curious. I've also got the second book already and it's the hardback, which is stunning. So I don't know, I'm definitely going to get to this at some point. I did want to try and get to it like at the end of last year, but that didn't happen. But maybe kind of, I don't know, winter at the beginning of this year, or maybe later on in the year. We'll see. But I'm very curious to see what this story is actually about when I eventually get to it. Next we have Blood Moon by Lucy Cuthue, and this is another novel in verse, and I have heard nothing but good things about this. It is a book that talks about feminism and periods and online shaming and just lots of very important topics. And like I said, I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and I'm really interested to see how these topics are handled in a format of a verse novel. I've talked about this a few times in a couple of videos, but I'm really looking forward to getting to this book. I feel like more like spring, summer I'm going to get to this book maybe, but definitely want to get to it sooner rather than later because like I said earlier, I do definitely want to try and do a novel in verse recommendation video at some point for you guys. So again, like with all the other books, I'm looking forward to reading it, and I feel like this is definitely one I'm going to enjoy. Next up we have Medenski Square by Eva Ibbotson, and I do have a physical copy of this, but my mum is currently reading it and it's downstairs, so I am not going to go and get it. But this is a book I bought kind of in the autumn time after hearing Lucy Powery and Laura Wood talk about it in a live show, and her books apparently are going to be right up my street. They're historical fiction, and specifically this book is set, I think it's set in the 1920s or the 1910s, I think in Venice, I think it's Vienna, don't quote me on that. And it's basically about our main character, and it's like a slice of life book, and our main character is a dressmaker, or she owns a dress shop, and it's basically about like a week or 24 hours or something along that line of this square where she has her shop. That's all I know about it. It's one that I definitely will try to get to soon because again I'd like to do an historical fiction recommendations video coming up very soon. But I'm very curious because apparently if I have read Laura's books I'm going to love this one, so I am very curious to see what I think of it, and let's hope that I enjoy it. Next up we have Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, and I have had this book since around the summer when I got it for my birthday, and it's a book that I've heard again, it's a book I've heard nothing but good things about. It tackles some really important topics, and it's also kind of a bit comedy as well because I have read the first chapter of this book in a try chapter tag, and I did really enjoy it, and I really enjoyed the writing style and the humour in it. So yeah, again this is one that I've talked about in my TBR, like physical TBR video. Really enjoyed what I have read so far, and definitely a book probably like in the spring summer that I'm going to pick up. Next we have Moonrise by Sarah Crossan, and again another book that is written in verse, and Sarah Crossan is kind of like the YA queen of novel writing a novel in verse. She has quite a few out now, and this, I haven't read any yet, but I definitely would like to. And I know this is, the storyline is kind of out of my comfort zone because it is basically about death row in America, and that's something that I would not voluntarily read about. But I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and obviously it's good to kind of expand your horizons when it comes to reading and the topics that you read about. So that this is going to be a very educational book, a very hard-hitting book as well. But like I said, again, another book that I've heard nothing but good things about, will definitely get me out of my comfort zone, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what I think. I really hope I do enjoy this book, and then I can read more of her books in the future. Next we have the Girl Aquarium by Jen Campbell, and I think this again was on my books that I want to read in 2020 list last year, and I didn't get to it obviously, but I bought it when I went on holiday to Cornwall back in September, and I haven't got to it yet. But it is one of my goals to try and read roughly around one poetry collection a month, because poetry is something that I really want to be in the habit of reading regularly. Again, I don't know a lot about this. I adore the cover, and I know it covers topics such as girlhood and fairy tales, which I know things that Jen likes to write about. So again, a book I am very much looking forward to get into, hopefully soon in the next couple of months, and we'll see what we think. Next we have A Theatre for Dreamers by Polly Sampson, and I've mentioned this book again in a few videos. It is a book that I talked about in another little series that I do, which is sort of similar to an anticipated releases video, but it's just basically talking about books that I haven't picked up yet that I'm very excited to read. And I heard about this book on a whim. I think I was browsing Waterstones, and it just sounds like a Laura Wood book, especially under a dancing star. It kind of like a historical fiction about these artists who live on this island as a community in Greece, and it just sounds wonderful. What I have heard of, like reading reviews and stuff, it is a very good book, and it's one that I definitely want to try and get to very soon. Hopefully in the summer maybe, one that I would like to get to. I feel like it'd be a really good summer read, and especially since I'm getting into historical fiction more, it seems like it's just going to be wonderful, and yeah, can't wait, definitely need to get to it soon. Next up we have I Wish You All the Best by Mason Diva. Again, this was either on books I wanted to read last year or my anticipated releases, because I can't remember when it came out. But I've wanted to read this book again, like I said, ever since it came out, and I haven't got to it yet. But I'm determined to get to it this year, especially since Mason has a new book coming out this year. I don't really know much about this book apart from the fact that the character is non-binary, and that's all I needed to know. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to this book, and hopefully I will actually get to it this year. Next up we have Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, and I've seen this book around a little bit. I know Chloe from Books of Chloe did a reading vlog where she picked a random book and it ended up being this one, and this seems like such an interesting book, a book that's right up my street, as I know that there is a lot of like theatre references, and also our main character has HIV, and I've never read a book where a character has HIV, and obviously it's a topic that I don't really see discussed in books, or at least the books that I have seen around or read personally, and it's a very important topic that does have a lot of stigma around it. So it's a book that I'm very much looking forward to reading to. Again, I'm looking forward to reading all of these books, but I am, especially this one. Like again, probably when I go around trying to buy some books, this is probably going to be again one of the ones that I like to pick up quite soon. And yeah, definitely looking forward to all those theatre references, because like if you didn't know, I really enjoy theatre, and I haven't read enough books that deal with the theatre either, so very much looking forward to getting my hands on this book. We're on to the last 3 books now, we are nearly there. So the next book that I have is You Can't Love Yourself, Poems by Michael Lee Richardson, and I got this after watching a video from George Lester, and he got this poetry collection and read it and really enjoyed it, and it's just kind of a Mickey take on Mother RuPaul from RuPaul's Drag Race, and I feel like this is just going to be so much fun. It's kind of taking him apart, so that doesn't make sense, but I just feel like this book is going to be really interesting, maybe shining new light on Ru, who knows. But again, I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I feel like this is going to be very humorous but also kind of serious, and make you kind of question who Ru is as a person, like really is as a person, and it's going to be very interesting. So I guess we'll see what happens when I end up reading it. Second to last book, and for that I want to read another Rupee Kaur collection, and I read Milk and Honey a good couple of years ago and then I reread it for the Reading Rush in 2019 I believe, and I ended up really enjoying my reread actually. And Rupee Kaur is somebody I have learnt to respect a lot more as a writer over the past year, over last year, as she did a lot of free writing workshops on Instagram which I took part in. And I don't know, it just made me kind of appreciate her work in a whole new light, as I kind of have mixed opinions on kind of like Insta poetry. Some of it I like, some of it I don't. But I really would like to get to her second or third collection, or both. That would be nice. As Homebody is probably the one that I'm slightly more inclined to read, but I kind of want to read them in order at the same time, so we'll see which one I want to get to. And the last book that I have on this list is technically two books. I'm either going to read one or the other most likely. I might get to both of them, who knows, but they're both non-fiction, they're both on the same topic, and I feel like I just want to do a little bit more research before I decide which one I want to read. So they are between Ace by Angela Chen or The Invisible Orientation by Julie Sandra Decker. I feel like I might have written that down slightly wrong, so please forgive me if I have. But these are both non-fiction books about asexuality, and I only in like maybe the past like year and a half maybe I've discovered about what asexuality is, and it's a sexuality I don't know a lot about. I read Loveless by Alice Oseman last year. It's one of my favourite books of the year. I really was able to relate to it, and I just kind of want to learn more about it. And these seem like the two most popular books. I know there aren't like loads and loads of books on asexuality, but these are two that I've kind of heard a little bit about. I've heard good things, and it's one of them I'd definitely like to get to quite soon, maybe in the next few months or so. So if any of you guys have read either of these books, please let me know in the comments your thoughts on them, or which one you think I should go for, because I feel like that would really help me kind of make my decision, because I don't know if I want to read both of them, because obviously they're both non-fiction on the same topic, but I guess it depends. So if you have read them, let me know your thoughts on them down below, and that would be really helpful to help me make a decision of which one I'm going to read. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I feel like it's just really fun to kind of talk about some books that I'm excited to read over the next year, whether they're books that I didn't end up reading last year and carrying on to the new year, or some new books that I've discovered over maybe the past couple of months that I'm looking forward to reading. So let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books and your thoughts on them, because I would love to know as always. And also let me know a book that you are excited to read in 2021. I feel like it's going to be like an amazing reading year with new releases and kind of just everybody reading some awesome books in general. So again, let me know in the comments, because I would love to know as always. If you like this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more bookish videos from me, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and little bell icon so you'll be noted every time I post a new video. As always, I will leave links to my social media along with the links to my Goodreads in the description down below for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!